Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Connection, formerly known as Inside the Asperger Studio. My next guest spent most of his life believing the real him was too much. After years of masking and a breaking point that forced him to get honest with himself, he threw away the mask and started asking harder questions about identity, values, and why society punishes people for being real. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite beverage and let's learn more about him. See you there, everybody.
I wanna believe in the truth, but only see what I'm shown. Got the freedom to choose, but can't decide on my own. Follow what the group is thinking, bottle up my intuition till it's popping up.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Connection, formerly known of the Inside Asperger Studio. Today I'm joined with Nicholas. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you. I should have, if I could change my name, it'd be Neurodivergent Nick. That is my, that's my podcast moniker. And so anytime I do a podcast, this is me unmasking myself, being unapologetic. So that's who you're getting. And my podcast is real conversations with Neurodivergent Nick. And so I'm looking forward to being on the show and letting you take the reins.
First off, that's the way it should be with all of us. We should be unapologetically ourselves. We shouldn't have to say sorry for what we say because we don't get the norms of today's society.
Well, it's funny because, long story short, I've been through a lot in the last 13 months. December 2024, I reached the pinnacle of a depression where I, started having real suicidal thoughts,
Okay.
and just didn't like that at all. So I reached out for help. I started, doing anything I could, and gone through a huge change in the last 12, 13 months. So much so that I've put off my fiance of 8 years. Now we've been together 9, and she is an enemy. I'm an enemy to her now, because of everything I went through and because I started unmasking and becoming a quote unquote different person, which is, from my terminology, I would say I was not depressed for the first time in my life, or as depressed for the first time in my life, because I realized I had been masking for 40 plus years, pretending to be somebody I wasn't. And eventually my body was just like, no, we can't do this anymore. It's killing us.
So you still with her?
Hmm.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna
mean,
be, yeah.
I
there's
mean,
there's not much to say on that.
you're one of the lucky few out there. To find somebody who gets us and understands us and says, "Hey, I'll be with you for the hard times and the bad, the hard times and the good times." She's a keeper, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay, all right, we'll stick with that. We don't
Anyway,
have enough time to get into that. Absolutely.
anyways, before we get into labels and diagnosis and who you were trying to be most of your life and who are you now that the mask is off?
I am Nick Pagano. I am a person of balance. I recognize that there is a requirement to mask in society as we know it, and not masking will make you pay. You will pay if
Mm,
you don't mask, at least at companies, at least at your job, at least with your family a little bit, because they are not strong enough uh, to hear honest thoughts and conversation.
Now, when did you first realize, oh, I don't actually know who I am?
Um, so I was going through it and I was crying nonstop. Uh, I ended up at a basketball game with my mom, and I was, being introspective and everything, and I voiced an idea that I would normally just think, because I looked around and I just saw everybody watching the game while my brain had just been spinning, spinning, spinning. And so I said to my mom, I said, I think I watched this game a lot different than most other people. And she says, "What do you mean?" And so I said, well, when I look around at everybody else, I feel like their inner monologue is like, he's bouncing the ball. He passed the ball. Oh, he shot the ball. Oh, he missed, but we got the rebound and scored. Yay. My inner monologue during that time has been, I wonder what offense they're running. I wonder who the backup is. I wonder what shooting percentage they have. I wonder if if the big man is going to play today. I wonder if I've had like 18 questions run through my mind in that time. And she goes, "That sounds terrifying." And I said, "It is." And I started bawling again. And she reached over and hugged me. And I've never been hugged like that by my mother. And also, it was like my mom finally understood, and so did I, in 42 years, that it's been difficult for me because my brain doesn't work like everybody else's, and the additional challenges that we face.
I mean, when you are AUDHD, people don't even realize with autism is one thing, but when you got ADHD going on, it's like you got a million different thoughts going through your head at a time. And it's like, how do I keep that quiet? How do I focus on one? And it's just like, ah, ah,
Yeah.
come on, quiet. I need to focus on one thing. I got to get one thing done.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's,
never quiet unless I'm watching a great movie. In that case, I'm diagnosing the movie, but at least, I've got my focus on one thing. Or if I'm listening to heavy metal music, if I'm listening to music that I love, then, I can just jam to the music and I'm not too distracted. I'll listen to the lyrics and I'll look for meaning in the lyrics and I'll feel the lyrics emotionally. But it's that's the escape is when you can put some type of entertainment in front of you
oh yeah.
and just kind of turn off that noise for a second.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, there are times where I'd be listening to a song and I'll go pop onto a line and I'm like, hmm, I wonder what the meaning of the song is or what the song is representing. And I'll
Hmm.
type it into the Google. I'm like, okay, what is the meaning of this song? What was actually being played? And then you get a million different thoughts from a million different people saying, oh, it meant this or it meant that or it meant this. And then you listen to the artist and you're like, no, it meant none of that. It's just an idea that they came upon when they were out somewhere, and then an idea just popped in their head and they just started going with it.
Yeah. A lot of the music that I listen to, like metalcore and new metal, they're very emotionally driven songs, and most of them are neurodivergent. You can hear from the lyrics that they sing, and some of the songs are when you're at your lowest, and some of the songs are, inspirational, getting you to that next level. But I mean, the song "Disguise" by Motionless in White.
Mhm.
It's an amazing song. It's all hardcore and everything, but the lyrics to that song will just break your heart talking about masking.
Mhm.
Let me see if I can come up with it here. Lyrics. So it's spiraling inside my own disguise. This is my design, but we're not here together. Mirror, mirror, tell me who you see. Am I you or me? I can never remember.
Wow.
Then the chorus, oh yeah. The chorus is I found myself by losing hope. I lost my way to find a home. I hid myself to stay alive. Now I'm ready to face my disguise.
That's pretty damn powerful.
Yeah, so you can't tell me that he hasn't felt that.
Yeah. Now, let's get back to you.
Yeah.
Did that realization feel terrifying or relieving for you, or both?
Both, both. I mean, that was the first one where it was where it finally was like, okay, maybe there's another side to this. If
Mhm.
my brain is truly different than 60, 70, 80, 90, 95% of people, because even people that are diagnosed ADHD are completely different. We all know it's all a spectrum. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody says, "Well, I have ADHD and I can do that." I'm like, that means you don't know anything about ADHD or
Yeah,
autism or anything. Because just because you feel that way doesn't mean that everybody else with autism or ADHD or anything
yeah.
like that feels that way.
I mean, when as the saying goes, when you meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism.
Exactly.
I mean, because if you look at it, everyone is different. Everyone's got different traits. Everyone's different. And ADHD, there are so many variants of it that you can have certain traits of this on both ends and not and be totally different than someone else. It's like I know people that are have the always on the go, that hypertension that they always got to be moving.
Hmm.
And then I know people who are like me who are more chill and relaxed and like,
Yep.
yeah, I get you, but I have my mind is constantly going to where I need CBD just to quiet down
Right.
at night. And the weird thing about this all is when I got into meditation, I can literally hear the thoughts in my head.
Hmm.
And that's freaky enough because once you realize what you're focusing on is the thought, you're like, oh crap, I'm not focusing on breathing. I'm focusing on what just came from my head.
Hmm. Right. You're supposed to be able to clear your mind, and yeah, that's like impossible for for somebody with ADHD. For me, I listen to the TV really low so that I can try to I can't make out what they're saying, but at least like I distract myself trying to listen to it, and that helps me fall asleep. But if I don't have something on in the background, it's very difficult for me to fall asleep.
I mean, for me, sleep, I mean, I don't get much sleep no matter what I try. I mean, I believe a maximum of maybe 5, 6 hours, depending on how exhausted I am
Hmm.
and how my mind reacts to bed equals sleep and not bed equals stay up, play on the tablet, and then sleep.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, everybody's different and they just don't realize that our minds are not equipped for day-to-day life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I can be a successful salesman. I can work in a sales job and take a certain amount of sales calls, a reasonable amount of sales calls, not doing outbound, calling 200, 400 people a day. That is mind-numbing and awful and my hell. I've done it and I will never do it again. So that's why I've been unemployed for the last year because I got fired from my previous job where I was doing well. I had been top writer all 3 years, and they basically fired me because of my autism, because of my honesty, because of my not being afraid of authority figures. Never disrespecting anybody, but
Well,
not bowing down and calling people out when they do something, especially after they've told you they want you to. So foolishly believing that, and so many times I've paid the price by being by building something up somewhere and then just getting it taken away from me because I'm me.
I mean, yeah, I
Because they
mean,
like they like all the stuff that makes you you, that makes you unique until they find something that does that they don't like, and then it's a non-negotiable.
yeah, I mean, I feel you. I used to work for an internet service provider, and I was doing great, and they loved me. Everyone liked me there. They downsized and moved, and finding work was the hardest thing in the world. And I'm still, to this day, at one point, I just gave up because no one was sending me anything. I wasn't getting calls or anything. I started volunteering, and I was enjoying it, but they just didn't understand me and how to work with me.
Hmm.
I told my HR person, I'm like, I'm autistic, and my supervisor, who is autistic herself, and her kids were. I was
Hmm.
like, but you can't take me away from her because she's teaching me life skills, and she's like, maybe you weren't meant to be here, but maybe you weren't meant to deal with the public in the first place. Maybe you shouldn't have volunteered here. And I'm thinking, what did you fucking just say?
Right.
And then
That infantilization.
Yeah, and then they moved me from where I was happy, put me in another department where I was miserable. And
Hmm.
what they had me do was I was working with the video department. I think that's what they were. And I was going through photos from charity events and labeling the emotions of the people. And
Wow.
I just kept saying, a chimpanzee can do this.
Yeah.
And I was miserable. And
Hmm.
I kept mumbling to my breath. There, I just kept mumbling stuff under my breath, and apparently somebody must have heard me, and
Yep.
they wanted to fire me on my day off. They called me up and go,
Mm.
"Can you come in?" I'm like, "This is my day off. I'm not coming in. You want me? You tell me what you want." So they call me up and to fire me. I'm like, if you're gonna fire me, no, I quit. Goodbye. And then I hang up on them. And
Yep.
then at that time, I was also volunteering at the field, and my manager comes up to me one day and goes, "Reed, people are complaining. The volunteers are complaining you're standing too close to them." I'm like, "Why didn't they just tell me personally so I can
Yeah.
adjust?"
Yep.
And she's like,
It's
"People don't like
uncomfortable.
confrontation."
Yep. Then why do I have to be confronted?
I'm like, "Why do
How
I
is
have?"
it?
No,
Eh,
my philosophy is, why go to you instead of telling me? Because they go to you, and I don't get hurt. I don't get told about this for days later
yeah.
when it's already been festering. You tell me there and then, I could have corrected it and I could have still been there.
Yep. Yep.
People just
Absolutely.
don't know how to work with us.
Yeah, they just they get it in their heads that there's some that there's some antagonistic property, or that there's some we have something against them, when usually autistics, I know for me personally, and from many examples that I've heard, we strive to be so clear. We pick our words so carefully, but somehow they still find a way to misinterpret it. And
Mhm.
it's so frustrating. Or our actions, we're trying to we're walking around. The irony is that we have all the anxiety about it. We walk around going, "Oh my God, I hope I do this right. I don't want to be awkward to this person." And
Mhm.
everybody else walks around going, "Who gives a shit? I'm just going to do whatever feels right because I know the social contract and I don't bother people." And then, "Oh, this guy made me feel weird. So now I'm not going to tell him about it. I'm just going to go tell my boss so that he can handle it because I don't want to come across as a bad person. So I just won't talk to this person like a human being, because if it were me, see what an autistic and what empaths and what people who feel deeply do is think, boy, if that were me, how would I want to be treated?" When we were told the golden rule as a child, we were like, "Oh shit, that makes so much sense." And we've always lived by that. I've always lived by being honest with people, being upfront with people, but also treating people the way I want to be treated, until they have stepped over a boundary where they're like, "I don't care about you. You're less important than me." If somebody's going to treat you that way, then you don't treat them the way you would want to be treated, obviously. But you consider other people's feelings. And so I always tell people, when I was at a music festival and I was hanging out with these girls and I noticed that one of the girls' breath stank, I told her, because I bet you nobody else tells her. And I was like, I don't mean to be offensive. I'm not trying to be mean, but I would want to know. And just so you know, when you breathed over here, I could, your breath was kind of strong. And she said, "Oh no, thank you so much for telling me." And then she proceeded to, tell the whole group that I had told her and make it awkward and everything, when I was, trying to be a kind person. And it's taken the wrong way, or who knows. I just always feel like there's some social faux pas that I'm committing, some way I could be doing things better. And that's part of that experience. Is That's what I'm always worried about, is, am I talking too long right now? Have I made a point? I said my piece, I said my feelings, But does it matter? Did it mean anything to anybody? Was it valuable? I don't know. I'm not going to remember what I said because of my ADHD. And now I'm just going to, move on to the next topic. But that's how I live my life. That's what I try to tell people on my podcast is I literally live my life in like 10 to 15-minute increments unless I'm really focused on something. And then, if like I'm watching TV, I'm just in TV mode. But like a day later, it's very hard for me to remember like what I did yesterday, especially any specifics. And then a week later, even for like my favorite things, going to music festivals and things, I can't picture myself there. I can't remember what it looked like. I can't remember who I was standing next to. I can't remember seeing my favorite bands play. So that's why I try to take lots of videos and pictures and everything. But it's a frustrating way to go through life. It is nice because I'm not haunted by a bunch of mistakes and problems and traumas and things of that nature. You know, what's the word I'm looking for? Actually thinking consciously.
Hmm.
I'm not haunted by those things consciously, even though my body has them, and even though my brain has them, of course. But I'm not sitting around remembering something that was hurtful. But I also don't get to remember the good stuff. I don't get to live. I just live in the moment. It's that's basically my life.
Anyway,
See, you never know where my ADHD is going to take you.
you're really upfront about being self-diagnosed.
Yep.
AUDHD. What made you trust your own understanding of yourself to claim that?
I mean, I always say I'm autistic enough to know I'm autistic, and I'm ADHD enough to know I'm ADHD. You tell me from listening to this conversation whether or not I'm autistic and ADHD. I mean, you don't, I've lived with myself for 43 years. You've heard me for 20 minutes, and you're like, yeah, yeah, he's probably autistic and ADHD.
What do you say to people who push back on you on your self-diagnosis?
I don't care. Don't give a shit. What are they? I mean, who are they? How are they affecting me?
Do not really.
Yeah, I don't care. They're free to have their opinion, and that's why I have my rules of life. I have rule 4 is distance yourself from violent, ignorant, selfish people and never take anything they say to heart. Because if you're violent, ignorant, or selfish, then that's the type of thing you're going to do. You're going to judge other people. Because what it is you have your own shit that you haven't dealt with because you're a coward that is going to say to a manager, "Hey, deal with this," instead of actually just approaching a person with with common decency.
Mhm.
So because you never face your own shit, you project it on everyone else. And oh well, only those who gain your ire, only those who in your opinion deserve it. And then afterwards, oh well, so what? I hurt that person, but they deserved it, so I'm fine. And it's
Now,
just yeah.
now, did learning about autism feel like reading a manual you never got?
uh kind of. I think I'm much more ADHD than autistic, to be fair. I'm fairly autistic, but I'm extremely ADHD. And the ADHD just really um takes the takes the mic 90% of the time. The autistic is just the one that's nervous and awkward and doesn't know how to put anything into a way that's not going to offend somebody, so he stopped fucking trying, in the first place, because I try to over explain, under explain, put pillows underneath it, be nice about it. And everybody, there's always going to be somebody that has a problem with you. But that being said, as I say that, somebody is always going to have a problem with anybody. So, but it does seem like more of a consistent thing for us.
The way I always like to explain it to people, if I like say something wrong or to them, or besides saying I'm autistic, and they're like, "How do you deal with it?" I'm like, I'm like, my issue is I'm constantly monitoring what I say and I
Yeah.
get tired and it slips. So if I
Hmm.
slip, please forgive me. But if you don't forgive me, you know what? You can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. You're so fucking perfect. I mean, Jesus Christ. The level of judgment and unfair you know burdens I've had to bear for people that took things out on me is just unmeasurable. I mean, that's what I've dealt with my entire life, and it's very difficult to get out of. It's very difficult to because when you first start realizing, hey, I can be who I am and and like myself more and be a happier person, or I can pretend to be somebody I'm not and still upset people most of the time and be a miserable person. I mean, when you look at it as those options, it's like, why would I ever pick the second one? But
Yeah.
everybody does. Everybody does because it's the road. It's the easier road up front. The other road is that difficult road. But as we all know, that's usually the most difficult road that leads to the greatest treasures because it's the road less traveled.
Now, was there a moment that you just said, "Oh, that explains everything"?
Uh, No, it was just more gradual, when I first started getting out of my depression, I started changing my algorithm like on Facebook and stuff, so I wouldn't see politics and I wouldn't see this garbage, and I was looking at more self-help and positive stuff. And then recently I got into these ADHD groups and the autistic groups and everything, but man, they are downers,
Mm-hmm.
and they are full of just people posting the same thing. It's a bunch of AI. That it's yeah. There's no yeah.
Yeah,
There's an occasional post that has some value to it, but yeah, most of it is.
yeah, I mean, I dropped out of those groups a long time ago because a lot of it was always the parents saying, "Oh, my child is autistic and he's
Mm,
done this for me and he's so brilliant," or "Oh, my son is autistic and he hasn't done anything."
hmm
And it's like, I don't need to hear you bragging about your child being so great when I'm sitting here struggling trying to find work.
hmm
Who gives a shit about your son? Excuse me, people listening. I mean, yeah, I care about everybody, but it gets tiresome when you hear people brag and brag and brag about their kids. Everybody who's autistic or with AUD or AUDHD, we all are different. We all have our different abilities. Some are brilliant, some are masterminds at certain things. But what people don't realize is when you talk about someone being just autistic, they don't have to worry about all the problems of ADHD. When
hmm
you're straight autistic, you are almost brilliant at something.
Oh yeah, you're a computer.
You're a computer, you're a musician, you were an author, you've done this, you've done that. But the minute you throw ADHD into it,
Hmm
then it's a struggle to survive
Hey,
because
now you're a broken, computer that can't stay on the same code for more than 20 seconds.
yeah, because you constantly forget.
Hmm
I mean, my biggest thing was I went away to school for my master's. And a lot of people go, "Have you maintained any of that you learned?" I'm like, "No, because of my ADHD." And when an old friend of mine goes, "Then that was a waste of money." I'm like, "No, it wasn't, because I got the experience that was needed.
Yeah,
I got the experience to teach me that I can live on my own."
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean that's kind of that's why it can be so difficult, in my opinion, in being neurodivergent is because you have to self-police yourself. You can't operate under other people's rules because you have your own. your own things that make life more challenging, whether or not it's racing thoughts, whether or not it's not being able to understand emotions, whether or not it's the 10 million things that it could be. uh you have to know yourself, and that's why my number one life rule for every single person, but especially for neurodivergence, and I believe is the meaning of life, is to grow every day.
Hmm.
You should always focus on trying to grow yourself as a person and have a little battle on those things that you don't like about yourself,
Yeah.
because we all have things that we wish were more fine-tuned, that were better. And I can tell you, after a year of working on it, I feel, a gigantic difference, because you can, and it's funny too, people can actually go back and see the transformation. You can watch my original podcast, Autistic Pod, which has like 50 plus episodes on Spotify. I've got like 30, I got like 15 or 20 other episodes that I recorded that I haven't even released yet, that are still under Autistic Pod. And then I changed to Real Conversations with Neurodivergent Nick on YouTube. And but you can go back and see the transition when I first started recording, and I was just talking about anything. The first thing that came to my mind was talking about honesty, because that's, always been a huge thing for me. That's that ingrained, sense of self-justice, or sense of justice, that a lot of people talk about. And some people will fight about that. But again, it doesn't mean all autistics have it, but I absolutely have it. I've always wanted things to be fair. Like if I accidentally peak something, I tell people like, "Oh, I saw that. We should redo that round or whatever." I'm not. I'm so honest, and wanting things to be fair for everyone. It's just in my nature. It's just ingrained in my DNA. And like thinking about being any other way is like causing my body to seize up. And
Hmm.
so, there's no other way for me to be. And so, regardless of what I want, what I can have, what's out there, it's always going to be restricted to my ability to govern myself. And so that's why we grow every day. We govern ourselves to become that stronger person, because we all have things that we should work on. And we know from neuroplasticity and neuroscience that we've learned, if you repeat something over and over again in your head and you make it your default, neuroplasticity takes over and allows you to rewire your brain if you truly commit to it, you know? And so we can change ourselves to a point.
Yeah.
Just like I said, with that honesty and everything, there are certain things that are ingrained that are incredibly difficult to remove. I mean, you can't take a psychopath and give them emotions. You can't take a schizophrenic and without the proper medication or tremendous therapy, just make their voices go away. But you can know that you have voices, and so you can you can make plans and put together barriers and defenses when you are at your best, when you are coherent, when you are strong. You need to plan for the inevitable, because there are going to be times where you make mistakes, where you put yourself in bad positions, and you need to be able to deal with that in the best way possible. And
Hmm.
so that's why every single person, I think this should have been taught to us in fourth fucking grade, Reed. Because if they sat us down in fourth grade and they told us, hey guys, we're going to talk about something really important today. It's something that everybody learns. Now we exist as entities. This is the one thing that needs a little work. I need to figure out how not to be so existential. But basically, we exist, so we get to have pizza. We get to, we get to watch TV. We get to eat chicken nuggets, ice cream. We get to hug our parents. We get to, et cetera, et cetera. So with that existence comes a responsibility of to us, what we have, or what we are beholden to existence, because without it we wouldn't feel everything we feel. We wouldn't get the opportunities. I've been on this earth for 43 years. You know how many things don't get that long a time? Many things, all the things. And then you talk about quality of life, about opportunities. We are so lucky to be human beings, but sometimes we forget about it. We should have been told this in fourth grade when our brains were still mush and everything just sunk in. And you're told that you are required to grow every single day as a human being. And think about the growth that somebody could have from age 8 to age 28 if they truly focused on that. And for 20 years, they're like, how did I grow today? It's ingrained in your brain. How good can people become? How strong? How much more accomplished and capable can we become? Because I can tell you in just a year, I have completely changed. And, this is not a conversation that I would have had a year ago. And so that is why I preached my rules. And that is, I'm certain, brought up from something relevant to what you discussed, but I can't remember why.
I mean, this is one of the most crucial things I've always talked about. Is this is why I always push. You need to step out of your comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
because when you're in your comfort zone, you surround yourself with everything familiar. Yeah, everything's familiar, but you're not going to grow. You're stifling yourself. You're not going to learn the life lessons. You're not going to learn life skills. You're not going to learn the important things like how to pick up a phone and call the doctor and say, hey, listen, I'm running out of medicine. I need a refill right now. I only have 5 days left. Or how to talk to your insurance company and say, hey, listen, my doctor needs you. What does my doctor need to refill my Adderall? Because Adderall is age restricted. Or how to talk to your bank. Or how to talk to your mechanic if your car's having problems. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to learn how to do all these things if you're surrounded yourself with familiar things. I
Yeah.
always say that the story doesn't start until you step outside that bubble,
Yeah.
because
No,
that's where everything
absolutely.
begins.
I totally agree. I mean, that's where I was last December. I mean, that's where familiarity had gotten me, you know? And I remember audibly, well, not audibly, but I remember having the thought, when my brother, who was the one who originally invited me to the basketball game, the initial thought from my brain was like, oh, you don't want to go to that. That's gonna be awkward sitting there with Eric. You're gonna be crying, or you're not gonna be a good hand. You're just gonna disappoint him. And that's when I felt the other side of my brain immediately. I recognized it. I was like, hey, no, why am I listening to you? You're what got us here. You know? I need to step outside my bubble, just like you're saying, and fight this voice, because this voice wants wants good things for me, but it's wrong. This is where it ended up. It ended up going, hey, you know what the best solution is? Just end your life because
Yeah.
I'm out of ideas.
No, I mean, I went to my first basketball game a long time ago. I volunteered for a organization once upon a time, and they asked me, how many tickets do you want to go? We got tickets for the Bulls game. How many tickets do you want? I'm like, well, let's go four. Me, my brother, my two nephews. So we went, and I'm thinking, am I going to enjoy it? Is it going to be slow? And we're all the way up, like in the nosebleed seats.
Sure.
And I enjoyed it because the game went quick.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh my God, that game went too fast. And we're already heading home.
You know what? I've seen many basketball games and I enjoyed them when I was a kid. But you know what? I can't take anymore when I see a live basketball game.
What?
The shoes.
The squeaking.
The squeaking shoes
Oh
are like nails on a chalkboard
yeah.
to me now.
Because
Yep,
if
I
you don't hear
cannot.
them if you're up close. You don't hear them
Even
if you're all the
even
way up
even when
top.
you watch it on TV, you can hear the squeaking.
I don't
It's
understand why
so
they have
bad.
mics so down far. Why it's like their microphones are dialed up so you can hear them running around the court. What
Yeah,
blew
I mean,
my
if you
mind,
play basketball, it's easy to squeak on a basketball court, to be fair.
what blew my mind is I went to a soccer game
Hmm.
and to watch that ball like sail through the air when they kick it. It's
Hmm.
mind-boggling to watch these
Oh
guys
yeah.
run back and forth. When they kick that ball just sails.
Yep. Oh, I know the level of fitness they have is a level of fitness
Uh,
that I would never know as a human being.
what blew,
I feel
but
like
what
part of the I was just gonna say I feel like part of the dish for autism is kind of a weak body.
but
I
what
do
real
feel like, yeah, we definitely are not physically adept. We sometimes have like, good strength, but we don't have stamina. We don't have it's yeah, I don't know.
but
But
it but what blows my mind is the love of the sport, how competitive it gets.
oh yeah.
We watched the first game. This was the World Cup, and then the second game was like Mexico versus I forgot what other country, and it just got a lot of people started coming in, and it was me and my mother and our neighbor, and we're just looking at and my father, and we're just looking at each other. It's gonna get ugly. We better leave now before it gets too ugly. So we left after the first game.
Yeah, soccer games can be pretty bad. People get stabbed and lose eyes and die, and that's especially if it's like in Brazil.
Mm. Now you've mentioned being told for years that the real you was too much. What parts of
Yes.
yourself were people actually reacting to?
Just my awkwardness, my just upfront honesty, my just not wanting to deal with the lies and deceptions and and mistakes of society.
All right.
Yeah.
What what did masking look like for you day to day though?
I mean, just anytime I would talk to somebody, I would, be even more worried about what I was going to say. I would be so worried that I would be so uh, I would try to be funny and witty and just try to be try again. I mean, with my memory, it seems like so long ago. It's hard to remember what the full mask was, but I mean, it was just yeah. I mean, I was happy, you know, with certain things. I mean, I had, my fiance and I were going like gangbusters, and we were making good money, but it just it just hit a point where my body just started going, "Hey, you remember how you were happy? You're not anymore. In fact, you hate yourself and you don't know why, but you have no energy, and I'm just going to remind you constantly that you hate yourself, and I'm not going to tell you why. So enjoy."
Now, did you ever realize you were masking, or did it just feel like survival to you at that point?
I realized I was masking after the night in the hotel, and the suicidal ideation and
Mm.
everything, and the reaching out for help. And yeah, I mean, I've always been decent at diagnosing myself once I have all the necessary information, because I've diagnosed multiple things, like me as a person, just down to the absolute bare minimum. I am a child who wants to show my toys to people, and my favorite toy to play with is my brain.
Mm. Now, for me, when I was in high school, I never knew I was masking. I never knew I was autistic.
Yeah,
I
no.
was pretending I was somebody else. I was trying to be
Hmm.
cool. I
Yep.
did things that I regret to this day and everything until somebody one day mentions goes about masking. I'm like, what's masking? And like, oh, that's pretending to be something you're not. I'm like, oh shit. That's what I was doing in high school all this time, and I never realized it.
Yeah, I'd never
Now,
heard of it. I don't know how I missed it, but yeah,
I
for
didn't,
42 years, I'd never heard of it.
I didn't even know masking existed in the ADHD community either until recently.
Right. Well, and it's funny too because I always forget this part. One thing that did lead to an excessive frustration was because I was trying to mask further. Was because I was looking at people and seeing them pretend and tell me one thing and do something else and know that they were full of shit, but still admire the quality. I want to be able to do that because that would be beneficial for me. That's a valuable skill. But and so I was like, why can't I do that? Why can't I just pretend a little bit? It doesn't seem that hard. And that was kind of what led to me like, oh, wait a minute. I'm pretending all the time, it seems like. Because when I really think about this, I'm already pretending because I'm already very sad and I'm already, and I've, it's been, yeah, so it finally dawned on me that I was already masking to my capacity. That's why I couldn't, mimic them greater because I had already done the absolute best I could do, which was not great anyway.
Now, what was the cost of masking for you for the 20 plus years?
uh, I mean, I would just say lost opportunity. It's hard to quantify, because I just lived a different life. I mean,
Mhm.
was it a worse life? I don't know. Nobody knows. And there's no point in looking back. Another rule that I have is worry about what you can control, All we can control is, and this is a philosophical observation for me. I think it's the root of philosophy. All you can control in life is the next second. That's
Now what?
really all we have control of.
Yeah.
And so we can decide what to do with that next second. We're sitting here
Mhm.
right now because we have the social contract, but I could get up and strip and start to dance around naked, and I choose not to because there's no benefit and because I don't feel the need to, but I could. And I think so many times we forget about that freedom that we truly have,
Mhm.
because society steals it so effectively and so intentionally. They don't want us to have options. They want us to be corralled and be a worker.
Now, at the end of 2024, when you decided to throw your mask away, what
Mm-hmm.
finally snapped with you? Or within you, I should say.
Well, I mean, I wrote a poem about it. If you want to hear it,
Sure, go for
do
it.
you just want me to answer that? You prefer to the question? Because like
No, read
it's
the poem
I
if you
mean,
want. It's up to you.
okay, I like this poem. Alrighty. So a mask sits on my face and I don't feel it, but it's there. It does most of the talking because my brain says I don't talk good. Okay, but then why doesn't it help? If I'm wearing a mask, shouldn't it work? I didn't even say anything, but my lips moved and I'm still sad. You know what? It's everyone else that's the problem. I'm awesome. Was that me or the mask? I can't even tell anymore. A mask is on my face and I don't feel it, but it's there. Is there a mask there? I just feel like people suck and are stupid. Let's point out all the ways they're dumb. That'll be fun and make us feel better. Social media shows me lots of people to own, and I do. I'm fairly intelligent, so I make myself feel a little better by flexing my brain and making them look stupid to anyone who sees it and isn't stupid themselves. Yay. I love life, don't I? I smile at my parents and family. I joke with my colleagues. I get excited about movies, TV, anime. Why aren't I happy?
Hmm.
Wasn't wasn't there something on my face? That sounds stupid. I'm just me. I find a woman who invigorates me and accepts me behind closed doors. She doesn't want me to change. I knew I was okay. That's not an easy one to read nowadays. I have a great job. The sky's the limit, but things change. 2 years after my best job ever, I see cracks, lies, deception. I love your unique view, Nick. Please feel free to share any ideas you have. But it was a lie. The world and corporate America don't do honesty unless it benefits. Something broke. I have a good job, the love of my life. Why does everyone else lie so much? I'm scared. I cry. I hide. I feel like I'm dying. Why? I'm smart. Figure it out. It doesn't act like anything I've felt or understood. It tells me I'm shit. Maybe I am. I'm at a hotel for a celebration for the company. I don't want to be there, but I better not miss the opportunity to smooge and campaign for management that I've been looked over for multiple times, despite being the top salesman in the company, even this year through everything. One person out of hundreds sees my pain. She asks me if I'm okay, and I say not really. Whose voice was that? Why did I say that? Does this mean I've given up? I drink. Hard. Not an hour later, I'm vomiting in a toilet. What good am I? My fiance would be better off without me. The job doesn't care. My parents will move on. Maybe that cool air on my face as I fall will be the peace I've always sought. What the fuck was that? I panic. I do the only thing I can think to do to try and pull myself out. I ask for help. No one will answer. I haven't affected anyone's life. I've been quiet, awkward. I don't stand out. Ding, ding, ding. Friends who I don't speak with respond immediately with kind words. I chat with a man I don't even know. My brother reaches out in spite of petty squabbles and invites me to a basketball game. You're just going to ruin the night, my brain tells me. No, you put me here. I need to do something you tell me is a bad idea if I'm going to have any chance of beating this. What's this mask doing on my face? It must have been there for something. I share. I cry lots more. I hug. I see a therapist. He doesn't magically make me better, but he's a kind voice who listens and who validates my feelings. I have a mask in my pocket to remind me our brains aren't always our friends. I never want to feel that way again, but I understand you were doing your best with what you had. Now I feed you. Now we grow. Now we thrive. Thank you, mask. Even though you nearly killed me, you were also what led me to my awakening. I no longer have a mask on my face, but I still cry. And after I cry, I always feel better. I no longer hide from my emotions or from who I am. Why on earth did I ever? Oh well, hindsight is 2020.
Wow.
So that's my poem I wrote about that.
Wow. So let's go with right now, today, what feels most true about who you are?
Just when I don't have to feel ashamed for what I think, when I don't have to feel like I'm broken because my thought doesn't compute for 70% of the population. That's not my fault.
Right. What's the one value you're currently rewriting?
I would just say my balance between what I need to mask and what I need to not say and what I say. I think I've overcorrected and I've stopped speaking too much. But it's a slippery slope.
And what's the one thing you're done apologizing for?
Existing.
And finally, where can people find your podcast and learn more about you and your wonderful life?
Well, you've got the real conversations with neurodivergent Nick. So it's at neurodivergent Nick on YouTube. And then you have at the real autistic pod for some old autistic pods on YouTube. And then you have me on Spotify. I've been trying to get on other places. I even, I'm just not good at this technology thing. I'm not good at dealing with those. It's Riverside made it easy for me to upload to Spotify, and then YouTube makes it easy, but it's like loading it anywhere else is has just been a challenge for me. So hopefully I'll be in other places eventually. But yes, currently on Spotify and YouTube. And then if you want to reach out to me on like Instagram or Threads, I'm at Real Conversations with ND Nick.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Reed Miles. That was Nick Pagano. And I just want to remind everybody, you're never alone. See you in the next one, everybody. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.